I got my master's degree in nursing education in August, and this is why, if I went back in time, I would not do it again. So let me give you some background information. 2 years ago, I was a single girl living by myself for the first time with my own nurse salary. I was supporting myself, and I thought, damn, adulting is hard. Like, I'm gonna need to do something else a little more because I was really like burnt out from working in the ER, and it's just not easy to survive, especially in a big city like Miami. Like, everything was so expensive. So I had this like economic pressure, and then I had my family pressure because especially immigrant families. I came to the US when I was 3 years old. They came to give me a better life, opportunities, safety. And yes, they have done that. And I totally appreciate both my parents for everything that they had to go through to get me to this position. But like, a lot of immigrant families have this mentality that more degrees, more education equals more success financially, career-wise, and a better quality of life. And honestly, that's just not true at all. In some cases it is, but that's not really due to somebody's master's degree or PhD or whatever. It's due to their qualities of networking or whatever other reason, right? So I just had like this pressure to make my parents proud because, everybody's getting a master's now, so you might as well do it too. But, and I like teaching. I could do it. I was just thinking, like, I can't do bedside forever, and I can't do this like so much interaction forever. It's too much for me. I don't love it like I thought I would. So I really did enjoy kind of precepting and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, let's do education. I can do education. And yeah, I could do education, but like, is that my dream job? No, like, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom / MILF, right? I just want to cook, clean, do groceries, go to Pilates, brunch, take the kids to their sports. Like, that's what I want to do for a living. That's the best job ever. Of course, that's not always secured, but I didn't do this with the right intentions. I was not passionate about this, and I feel like that's the only reason that somebody should pursue this type of degree, especially when it comes to like patient care. Of course, I consider nurse practitioner, but all that patient one-on-one contact was a no for me. So it was like, education it is, right? Either way, I only did it just because survival mode and kind of like that pressure from society and family in general. But you don't need to get that master's, girl. Like, is it gonna make a difference in your paycheck? I work as an interventional radiology nurse, like a regular staff nurse, and when I got my master's, I got a 50-cent raise. But whatever, I like my job now, it's chilling. But the point is, like, you don't need to do all this. Like, even with a master's, you're not gonna get paid that much when it comes to the world of nursing. Like, there's only so much you can get, right? So not only did I do all of these research papers and all of this work for 2 years for something that I don't really care about that much, I also just gained $30,000 of debt plus interest. Because fortunately, my dad was able to pay for my bachelor's degree. My family sacrificed a lot in order to keep me debt-free for my bachelor's, right? Well, here I am in the cycle, in debt for no reason, regrettably. So if I went back 2 years ago, I would not have done this again. Like, so just don't get your master's in nursing or in general unless you really want to, unless you're really passionate about it. Like, don't do it because you feel like you kind of have to. And that's what everybody's doing. No.
I have one incredibly massive regret about my PhD journey, and I want to tell you it so that you don't do it. I cared far too much about my grades. Grades are super important in undergrad, and they can be important even in your master's program. But when you're in a PhD program, getting through and focusing on your research and focusing on publishing papers is far more important than getting the A in every single class. I ended up graduating my PhD with a 4.0. I have never had that high of a GPA in my entire career. My master's, I didn't have a 4.0. My undergrad, I definitely didn't have a 4.0. And in high school, did not have a 4.0. But in my PhD, I graduated with a 4.0. That was not a good use of my time. Sure, you should learn. Sure, you should do the assignments. Sure, you should show up for class. All of the things. Those are really, really important, and they definitely created a foundation for me to be a great professor. However, it doesn't matter if you get an A or an A minus. It's okay. It's not that important. Spend your time doing things like publishing research instead of sitting on data. I literally take naps on my data because I sit on so much data that I collected, didn't further, and didn't put it out into journals or publications of any sort. So if there's one thing I would say to those of you going to a PhD program, grades are important. You don't need a 4.0. It's not the time to focus on a 4.0. That maybe was undergrad, not now.
Here's my number one piece of advice if you consider doing an online master's degree. I did one, but I started off as a paraprofessional, so I got to work under some cool teachers beforehand. So I feel like I was better prepared than I would have been had I not had any experience. So if you transition it over from a different field into a master's of education, and you consider going to a charter school to so you can be a lead teacher, get your money and stuff like that, here's my advice to you: ask for more observations from your principal, instructional coach, or mentor teacher. Ask for more observations from them, because the feedback that you will get from your online masters professors is going to be good, but they're giving you feedback on prepared videos, right? And they're going to be prepared because you know you're getting graded on those videos as well. So you're not just going to be submitting, I don't want to say a truthful instruction, but you're not going to submit like what you may do on the day-to-day, right? You might be a little more poised that day. You might be a little more planned, more structured, because you know it's for a grade. Rather, if you're getting in the moment feedback, you're getting it from somebody who has a stake in that classroom, in that child's education. So honestly, I know it sucks, but ask for more observations, ask for more coaching, and don't be afraid to be vulnerable and be as honest as possible in your instruction. Because ultimately, we got to put the best teachers in front of our kids, and I don't think online master's degree can do that as effectively as resident programs.
It seems like getting a master's degree isn't all it's propped up to be. This next lady, she regrets her entire degree, regardless. Look at this.
I regret my entire college degree, but I can't turn back now. For reference, I'm 21 years old and I'm about to graduate. Now look, I'm not saying that you shouldn't get one, because that is not what I'm trying to say at all. But all that I'm saying is be a lot more thoughtful in what you pick, because I chose to major in international business and minor in economics. And ultimately, I've decided that I want to become a lawyer, and you don't necessarily need that degree for being a lawyer. And I high-key just wish that I would have chose something else that I would have actually enjoyed if I would have known that I've gone to law school. But when I was 18, first entering college, I got 17 actually, I wasn't really thinking that far ahead. I was just what's gonna give me a guaranteed job? And now the irony of that is also in this job market, what's a guaranteed job? But my advice to people who are just now entering college, really think about the kind of lifestyle that you want and what would actually make you not want to, on a day-to-day basis, if you were to have a job. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
Yes, I regret getting my master's from the University of Cambridge. And yes, you did hear that correctly. Hi, I'm Claire, and I'm about to start my PhD in women and museum history. And I want to make sure that people don't make the same mistake as me of thinking that getting into Cambridge is the best thing you can do with your life, because this piece of paper was not worth everything I went through to get it. First, some background. So I went to the University of St Andrews for undergrad. I studied English and modern history. Absolutely loved it there. I spent 5 years in Scotland, and it was just the most magical time ever. I thought that because I'd been in St Andrews for 5 years and I liked it, even though I had met some of the poshest people I've ever met, the richest people ever, I thought, well, this can't be that different than what Cambridge will be, right? Aren't there super posh people there? I'm used to dealing with the St Andrews posh, I'll be fine. Well, boy was I wrong at how different those are. The reason I applied to Cambridge was because I was searching out masters to do, and then I wanted to eventually do a history PhD, but I wasn't convinced about doing a master's in modern history or something. I feel like I know exactly what that's going to be like, and I want something a little bit different. I also want something a bit more employable. Newsflash, wasn't employable. I found the course description for Heritage Studies at Cambridge, and the way they marketed it, it's basically a history course, but with the more practical elements. You'll learn about museums, libraries, also how to manage historical sites. Principal, you will learn about castles and all sorts of cool stuff like that. Something I also didn't really think about at the time, I was really interested in heritage as a concept of like ancestral way as well, of like how people think about their heritage. That's something that really intrigues me. However, as you will find if you do some research, a lot of people think of heritage as built environment, and that's great, not really what I'm exactly interested in. This would give me what I need if I ever want to do a history PhD, that piece of paper that says I completed a master's, and I also thought that it would give me skills in case I wanted to just not do a PhD and go into the museum world. The mistake I made at the very beginning was I only applied to this course at Cambridge. I only applied to Cambridge because I wanted the validation of getting into one of the best unis in the world. I should have listened to my professors and thought about different unis, but I didn't. And then when I got into Cambridge, that was a really big deal. I felt super validated. I felt like, yes, like I've made it, right? Like I went to St Andrews, already a great uni, but guess what? I can get to the best uni in the UK. Wow. I was so excited. I went to visit Cambridge. I met current students, I met professors. And here's the next mistake. I didn't listen to the current students who were telling me, do not come.
Do not come.
Who were telling me,
Do
don't
not
waste your money, don't come do this master's. They basically told me things that I would experience for myself later down the line, but I was just too blinded by the name. I thought that how could it be possible that Cambridge is so bad even though it has all this prestige? How can something at Cambridge not be worth the money? Oh boy, wow. Trust me, I know what comes next. I start in October. I am a member of Girton College. I will rep Girton College because they are pretty cool historically. You know, one of the first residential university institutions for women in the UK. However, I didn't live on my college because I lived with my partner in Selwyn College. No one tells you how expensive the south of England is. I lived in Scotland for 4 years. Now I live back in Scotland. I have not financially recovered from those 9 months. But like, not as fun. Quickly I realized I've made a mistake. The lecturers, like the professors, are extremely arrogant and not helpful either. It's like one thing if you're like arrogant and good, it's another like good at your job. It's another if you're arrogant and bad at your job. That's like just completely different situation. Quickly realized that this is a money grab, as are many master's programs. I will say that's a bit of a spoiler. Master's programs are money grabs. And the coursework was very boring. It was glorified undergrad work. Nothing very challenging, nothing exciting, nothing useful. So that wasn't fun. And then we get to second semester rolls around and some of the professors start being a bit disrespectful. I'm not going to use the other word that I really want to use. Being disrespectful towards non-white students in our class, in our course, people, mind you, who paid money to be there. Disrespectful towards them in a lecture on decoloniality. Let's just take a moment of silence for that, like the irony, the upset of it. My course mates, by the way, if you're seeing this, hi, you guys know how much I hated this course, so like, I bet it doesn't surprise you that I'm making this anyway. After that, I realized, okay, this isn't gonna get better, I just need to finish out this course, and like, the professors thought that I was crazy as well because I was expressing to them how upset I was at like, how horrible this course was, how horrible they were being to other students. So, I was like, you know how I'm gonna finish this out? I'm gonna do the best research possible that I can. And guess what? That's exactly what I did. I went as far as possible to do my thesis research. I went to Poland and researched Polish and Ukrainian dissonant heritage identities, and I finished with a distinction, and I ranked in the top 5 in the class. But the reality is that doesn't help in this day and age. Getting a master's from Cambridge I thought would set me up for employment in that time between starting a PhD and finishing a master's. Support myself, I'm in a job that I wouldn't need a degree for. I'm gonna make a bold claim right now. In this economy, in 2026, I don't think masters are really worth what we are told they are worth. I think we're still a bit behind in thinking the masters really like they put you in front of other candidates for jobs, or at least in the glam sector. What I was told repeatedly when I applied with my degree, when I applied saying, look, I have this, they were like, great, do you have experience working in a glam setting, in a museum? Now it's been over 6 months since I got this. It's been almost nearly a year since I finished my thesis. And do I have any jobs prospects besides going into a PhD? No. Do I think that this master's and like this piece of paper helped me get maybe some funding for my PhD? Yes? Question mark? I don't think it's given me anything else. I have learned some valuable lessons though, and that's just the reality. So if you are thinking of going to Cambridge or Oxford, just don't.
Going to college is definitely a big commitment and a big thing that you need to make sure you know what you're doing, man. These people are regretting it, and it's keep popping up more and more. Look at this next clip.
I regret doing a master's in nursing. Hear me out. I think that a master's in nursing is just so specific. And, you know, whether you do the core stream or the thesis stream, at the end of the day, you get the same degree. I think the best thing, though, is if you were trying to get like a PhD or something like that afterwards, then the thesis stream will, you know, be a little bit better than that because it's more research focused. I personally feel like if I was going to do a master's in nursing again, I would have done the NP program only because when you do the NP program, you get the master's degree and the NP certificate. So then now you can practice as an NP, but you can still do all the other things that you can do with the master's because you get both. Versus now with the master's, if I wanted to become an NP, I have to go back to school, which is like annoying. It's only a year, but like annoying. I can't be going to school at this old age anymore. Otherwise, I think like it's almost better to do a master's in something else, like whether that's education or even like an MBA. Because even with an MBA, you can still work in healthcare management. So same thing with like a nursing degree, but then like you can branch out into so many other things as well in business or even in like healthcare management. It doesn't even have to be like a manager. My friend with an MBA even got an education position in nursing. So I feel like, you know, it works out in that way as well, right? And I did find that the Master's in Nursing program did have quite a lot of fluff in it, if you ask me. There were definitely some courses that were useful. I think like if you're going into research, that's super, super helpful. But when it came to like, you know, teaching you how to, you know, be an educator or be a manager, like the courses are not really like that. There is a practicum where you may get that experience, but there's no like courses or anything like that, you know? And, like I feel like with the Master's in Nursing, you can't really branch off, oh my god, a bug, into the same things that you can with like an MBA, right? So yeah, those are my honest thoughts. I think I would have done it either in something else or the NP program specifically. Okay guys, let me know what other questions you have. Okay, so last thought, I don't think I fully regret doing the master's because obviously I've put it to use. I've taught nursing students in the past, which did pay really well. So I feel like, you know, I did get my return of investment, you know, in doing the master's in nursing, but I think I could have been a little bit more smart about it when it came to, you know, doing a master's in general.
Here's my list of expensive things that I do regret buying. And number 1 is a master's degree. And number 2 is a second master's degree. Don't even like, I know. I will say sometimes I do think a master's degree is needed, and I wouldn't say like I don't value education. I think it's very important, and I think getting a master's degree, if that's what you need for your career path, then get a master's degree. But I will say, choose your major in undergrad wisely. I think I would have done, like, hindsight 2020, I would have done something completely different and did something different in undergrad, and then I wouldn't have had to get any more degrees after that and have more student loan debt. And honestly, the reason I have a second one is because I thought I wanted to get into higher education, so I started a PhD program. Realized that wasn't for me, and like the culture and that work environment, I did not want to do the rest of my life. So I kind of just stopped at my master's and left that program. That's why I have two. That's a whole other story I could get into. But just choose your major wisely. Coming from someone in their 30s who is broke, choose your undergrad major very wisely. That's all I gotta say. That's my words of wisdom.
Goodness gracious. Twice. It's crazy. I didn't have too much commentary on this because I just rather listen and don't judge and let them talk because I don't know much about college. I didn't go. I barely made it out of high school. Barely. But if you guys know anybody who's going through this, or if you're going through this, drop it down in the comments. I would love to hear you guys' stories. And if you guys also want to see people just regretting their student loans, make sure you guys click this video right here. It's Josh from Talk to Him Boy, and I just talked to you, boy. I'm out. Peace.